YouTube friends, I have something really special for you. Today I'm going to review a pair of Audiophile state-of-the-art wireless headphones, the Dali IO-12. I've been using these for a couple of months now and they have become my new travel partners. I won't go on a trip without them. These headphones have been with me on trips. I've used them for sound editing, brought them along for professional work as a sound engineer, but most of all, I've used them as a music lover. And I know that some of you guys want me to answer the question right away. How do they sound compared to other wireless headphones? And I will answer that question later in the video. But for now, I'm going to focus on these headphones and explain why they might be the perfect wireless headphones for you as well. I'm going to show you the features, talk about the pros and cons, and explain how these headphones perform over time, at home and while traveling. And if you still have questions about these headphones, after watching this video from start to finish, please leave a comment below and I will do my best to answer your questions. Some of you might not be familiar with the manufacturer Dali, but they have been around for 40 years now, designing and building hi-fi speakers in Denmark. Over the years, they have developed a unique way of building speaker drivers, which they have patents on. The soft magnetic composite driver magnet system is a smart way of dealing with electromagnetic fields around a voice coil. I believe they are the only speaker manufacturer in the world having access to this technique. It's used in these headphone drivers as well. Living in Sweden, next to Denmark, I've always been exposed to Dali speakers at friends' place, in hi-fi store, and more recently in clients' homes when I've helped them fix their room acoustics and calibrate their hi-fi systems. So, I'm quite familiar with Dali speakers. If you haven't checked them out yet, I suggest you listen to them. They are well worth an afternoon at your local hi-fi store. And they sound both musical and detailed without breaking the bank. I actually got to listen to their flagship speaker, the Dali Core, at a hi-fi show last year, and it was quite an experience. They produced a huge soundstage with lots of body and punch, portraying the very fine details in the depth and width of the soundstage. Vocals were hanging in thin air straight in front of me, and I remember spending more than an hour in their large demo room, just enjoying good music. I should mention that they have a retail price of about 80,000 euros, but compared to other flagship speakers in the same size and sound, they are cheap. Well, back to their latest headphones, the Dali IO-12, which retails at merely 1,000 euros, very cheap compared to the Dali Core speakers. Compared to other hi-fi wireless headphones, the Dali IO-12 are priced in the upper part of the price range, but there are more expensive competitors on the market. So, let's talk about the design, because it's interesting. First, the headphone cones are 50 mm in diameter, which is considered large, as most other headphone cones driven by a voice coil are 40 mm at most. So, why is it better with a slightly larger cone? Well, firstly, it doesn't have to move as much to produce sound, which on paper means less distortion. And it's able to better cope with the low frequencies, bass frequencies. On the other hand, it means exciting and moving a slightly larger cone, which means more mass to move. And that's when Dali's unique SMC driver comes in handy. I won't bore you with the technical details, but what it does is to lower the distortion by using a highly magnetic composite material as driver magnet, but at the same time with a very low electrical conductivity. That way you get more free movement of the voice coil, and negative effects such as hysteresis, eddy currents and frequency nonlinearities are minimized, which result in less distortion and less coloration. I will honestly say that it's been many years since I studied electrical science at the university. Still, it makes perfect sense to me. In short, the SMC driver lowers the external negative effect on the voice coil as it moves back and forth to make the speaker cone convert shifting currents into mechanical waves that propagates in the presence of air molecules. In daily speech, create sound. Dali have used many of their smart patented solutions normally used in their hi-fi speakers and adapted the technologies and knowledge about the materials into the creation of the headphone cups. The same kind of dampening of the cavity behind the speaker cone in their speakers have been used behind the drivers of these headphone cones. So, a lot of thought and planning have been used when designing these headphones. And that really shows when putting them on my head, over my ears, because the natural noise isolation of these headphones is really good. Of course, there are Peltor hearing protection with more isolation, but for a pair of closed-back headphones, I think the isolation is quite good. These headphones feel quite sturdy, and the cups have really nice, luxurious, leather-coated feeling. And the bottom side of the headband is made of this really soft memory foam, and I have to say that I've tested a lot of headphones over the last 25 years or so, and these headphones are by far the comfiest headphones I've ever worn. To me, they play in their own league when it comes to comfortability. The headband is made of a hard plastic cover on the top side, but then there are metal frames holding the cups, and they can be extended quite a bit. So you can have a pretty large head, like me, and still be able to wear these headphones comfortably. On the flip side, I wonder how they are if you have a small head. And if you qualify in that category, you simply have to try these headphones yourself and make sure that they fit you nicely. The rectangularly shaped cups make the headphones sit really well on my head. I tremendously enjoy wearing these headphones. And as I've said before, the passive isolation is quite good. There are 6 built-in microphones. 4 of them are used to achieve the active noise cancelling, and 2 are used for taking phone calls. There are 3 listening modes: the normal mode with active noise cancelling off, active noise cancelling on, and a transparent mode, which lets sound from the outside through, in a quite natural way. Comparing the transparent mode with other active headphones, these are by far the most natural sounding. Most other active headphones have a weird sounding transparent mode, at least to me as a professional sound engineer. The Dali don't add a lot of treble when mixing in the sound from the outside world, and they don't add hiss or noise either, apart from the outside noise, making them quite useful when you wish to listen to music but still want to be able to pick up verbal cues and orders from your spouse. Sometimes I walk into the kitchen like a boss, wearing noise-cancelling headphones, blasting music, looking at the teenagers, meet their eyes, looking at mouths moving, waiting for 10 seconds, and then go, "What?" I just love getting even with them. A word of caution though, just remember that it probably won't pass as a dad joke trying to pull the same stunt on your wife. Don't do it. Just don't try it. Anyway, one thing that differs from practically all other wireless headphones in the upper price range is that the Dali IO-12 doesn't come with an app. What you see is what you get. But how do I change the sound profile, you might ask? Well, you can't, apart from switching between the hi-fi and bass mode. And that's done by pressing a button on the right ear cup. The hi-fi mode represents the transparent listening mode, which produces a neutral sound character that works really well for most music. Given the size of the driver diaphragm and the paper fiber cone material used, the headphones have a natural smoothness in the treble and the transients are nicely rounded off without losing any clarity. Switching over to the bass mode, a quite hefty amount of low end is added. The sound engineer in me wants the crossover frequency to be slightly lower and the amount of added low end to be slightly less. However, the music lover in me thinks it sounds great. And as always with added bass, it's contagious. Switching back to hi-fi mode makes the soundstage open up a little bit in the mid-range and treble, but at the same time sound slightly boring just because the lack of bloom in the low end. I'm pretty sure that all you bass heads out there will keep the bass mode engaged most of the time, because it sounds really good. So, what about me? Well, I can never really lay off my sound engineering cap, so I prefer the hi-fi mode, with an occasional lick of the bass mode when I'm in party mode. So how do these headphones sound? Well, before I really started to scrutinize the sound quality, I gave them a good burn-in period of a couple of weeks. According to the manufacturer, they had been out on demo before, but I still found the burn-in to be important because auditioning them straight out of the box, I found them to be slightly boxy sounding, lacking definition in the high end. However, after a good burn-in period, all that evened out. The high end opened up, the low end became firmer and more defined. It certainly wasn't a night or day difference, not at all. But in my ears, still an improvement. I can't stress how important it is to do proper burn-in before evaluating a pair of brand new headphones. I know you guys might have a 14-day money-back guarantee on brand new headphones, so try to exercise them night and day for as long as you can. I promise you, it will be worth it. These dark chocolate headphones come in a dark chocolate carry case. In this case, the enclosed cables are neatly organized in two compartments. One shaped like a net pouch, where you just tuck away cables that you don't use that often. And one compartment with a lid, where you keep the cable that you use the most. Smart planning, if you ask me. The case feels very sturdy and will protect the headphones even from the most vicious handling. I'm sure it will. The sturdiness of the case does, however, make it bigger than other cases for wireless headphones. And that's something to consider if you travel light with a small backpack or shoulder bag. The included cables are two mini jack cables for passively hooking up the headphones to a headphone amp and one USB-C cable for charging and connecting to a USB-compatible music player. Also included are a mini jack to standard jack adapter and a flight adapter for in-flight entertainment. Does anyone really use these adapters anymore? Please let me know in the comments. There are 3 ways to connect these headphones: via wireless Bluetooth connection to a phone or a computer, via USB cable hooked up to a computer or phone, or via the 3.5 mini jack connection on the left ear cup. Hooking them up passively means that they act as normal headphones and need external amplification. In this mode, no internal processing is done, so the headphones can be used even when the battery power is gone. I like the fact that there's a dedicated mini jack connection. Some wireless headphones doesn't have that and require a special mini jack to USB-C cable, but that's not needed with the IO-12. Using them as passive headphones work really well, but I do prefer using them with a tailor-made internal processing and amplification enabled. By holding in the power button, the pairing mode is enabled. A total of 4 Bluetooth devices will be remembered by the headphones, and they will automatically attempt to connect to the most recently used device when switched on. The IO-12 additionally support Bluetooth dual mode, which enables simultaneous connection of 2 sources to the same headphones. For example, a smartphone and a computer, or 2 phones when you want to compare the sound quality of an iPhone and an Android phone at the push of a play button. The internal audio processing is done at 48 sampling rate, which is the sample rate that most USB or Bluetooth connections use. The headphones support standard Bluetooth codecs like AAC, aptX HD and aptX Adaptive. There is, however, no support for the Sony LDAC codec, which would have been great to have. Via the supplied USB cable and hooked up to a computer, the headphones support 96 kHz 24-bit audio without any sample rate conversion done. All the controls are done on the right ear cup, and there are 4 buttons available. 1 for powering on/off and pairing, 1 for enabling and disabling the active noise cancelling over here, and the 3rd button switching between hi-fi and bass mode. The latter mode engaging a low shelf filter that adds bass. The 4th button is actually on the right side of the right ear cap, and it acts as a multifunction button for answering phone calls, starting and stopping music, and then there's actually a ring around it with buttons for increasing and decreasing volumes. So there are more than 4 buttons then. Anyway, when toggling between ANC on/off, there's a voice in the headphone saying
ANC on. Transparency. ANC off.
A side note, in case you forget to turn off the headphones, there's a 20-minute automatic off function. The battery life is about 35 hours, depending on how loud you listen and if the ANC is enabled. A full charge takes about 2 hours. I found it helpful with the built-in voice that tells me how charged the batteries are whenever I turn on the headphones. Listen.
Battery 90%.
So you will get a verbal cue when you're getting close to having to recharge the batteries. So, I've been using these headphones for quite a while now, and how do they sound? Well, when I first started listening to them, I was kind of blown away by the musical representation. The sound is full, musical, and has this nice smoothness in the mid-range and treble. The transients are somewhat rounded off, creating an engaging and non-fatiguing sound, but without losing any clarity. Whenever I pick them up to evaluate how they sound, I just get stuck listening to music. I really like the non-fatiguing soundstage. It's smooth and has lots of body without clouding the mid-range. Well-recorded vocals get a really nice mid-range presentation that I like a lot. For the past 25 years, I've reviewed many different headphones in all price ranges, and I have to confess that the Dali IO-12 are one of my absolute favorite headphones. So, how about the low end? The bass reproduction. Well, it sounds engaging with detail and dynamics, and it feels like there's some emphasis in the upper bass frequencies which help move the soundstage a little bit forward. Once I got used to the sound, which I did really fast, I decided to mostly use the hi-fi mode, because the bass mode creates a little bit too bass-heavy sound for my ears. However, the bass mode might be perfect for you and your ears. We all have different tastes and different expectations. Switching between pop, rock, jazz, hip-hop and classical music, I think that these headphones can portray all kinds of music styles with ease. And I've been using these headphones during travel, listening to music, podcast, audiobook, and the sound quality just makes me forget that I'm wearing headphones. It really does. Also, being comfortable to wear helps. As you might have already discovered, you are watching me in my new YouTube studio, purposely built for you guys and for me to be able to produce more product reviews, tips and tricks videos, and so on, with a goal to help you make better informed decisions when buying new stuff. If you find any of my videos helpful, please feel free to buy me a coffee using the link in the description at buymeacoffee.com/Immersive Sound Tech. I love coffee and I love helping you out, so it's a win-win. You can also help out by using the Super Thanks button. All donations will 100% go straight to creating more videos, and my plan is to step up my YouTube activity and create more videos in the near future. If you don't have the financial means, a friendly comment or a simple thumbs up will also cheer me up. Many thanks for your contribution to this channel. So, how does the sound quality compare between the Bluetooth modes, using an iPhone or a laptop? Well, hooking up the headphones to my laptop via Bluetooth, I'm pretty sure that the protocol used is the aptX HD because it sounds really nice. It's a full sound with really nice stereo width, dynamics and depth. Comparing it with the USB-C cable sound, hooking up the headphones to my laptop, switching back and forth, I can hear that the USB connection sounds even better. Via cable, the headphones act as a sound card and enables linear PCM sound up to 96 kHz 24-bit. Using the aptX HD Bluetooth connection, the sound quality is still really good, but I can detect a little difference in the stereo width, which is quite not as defined as listening through USB-C. Also, the mid-range depth is slightly decreased through Bluetooth. So is the dynamics and the depth of the low end. Switching over to my iPhone 16 Pro wireless Bluetooth connection and comparing it with the USB-C cable connection, I do think that the iPhone connection lacks a little bit of sound quality. The mid-range is slightly less dynamic, there's a slight smear in the low end, and the sound stage becomes a little bit flat. As far as I know, the iPhone is pretty much a black box when you hook up your headphones via Bluetooth. Developers have no possibility to tweak any settings inside the Apple iOS operating system, meaning that you basically get what you get when connecting a pair of wireless headphones to your iPhone. So, it's equally unfair for all manufacturers of wireless headphones connecting their products to an iPhone. Naturally, with a pair of high-quality headphones like the IO-12, the hi-fi curse of high sound quality means that even tiny changes in the sound quality might be detected by the user, as in my case. That said, I still really enjoy using these headphones hooked up to my iPhone, and I've been using them for many hours traveling, in my studio, in the garden, and on location work. Maybe sometimes in the future, iPhones will support the Sony LDAC codec or the aptX lossless codec, but I don't have high hopes for that to happen anytime soon. If I were to describe the sound of these headphones with just 2 words, it would be smooth and musical. Having recently upgraded from iPhone 14 Pro to 16 Pro, I am finally free from the shackles of the Apple Lightning port. Freedom! Which means that I probably can use most of my wireless headphones wired via USB-C to my iPhone 16 Pro. Sweet! So, there can't possibly be any difference having the IO-12s hooked up to my Samsung laptop or my iPhone 16 Pro via cable, right? Well, it never ends. Switching back and forth using a wired USB-C connection, I can detect a difference in sound quality. I don't know what Apple does, but the wired iPhone connection sounds a little bit accentuated in the upper mid-range. Harsh would be too strong of a word to use, but still the difference is audible to me. This also results in a slightly less warm sound. I'm certainly not talking about big differences, but big enough for me to spontaneously pick up while testing the connection. So, now for the million-dollar question. How do these headphones compare to other similarly priced wireless headphones? Well, I am going to go off script here and compare the IO-12 with 2 of my other favorite wireless headphones, the Bathys and the Bowers & Wilkins Px8. And to not make this review even longer than an hour, I will compare the sound quality. For in-depth information about features and functionality, please watch my reviews of Bathys and Bowers & Wilkins Px8. They are available down next to the comments, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to quickly explain my test rig. It consists of my laptop over here, playing high-quality lossless music from Cubus. Then I use the same USB-C cable and switch between the headphones. This way, I keep the differences to a minimum and concentrate on the difference in perceived sound quality. Basically, my highly subjective and personal thoughts about what I'm hearing. So the first track that I'm listening to is by an artist named Fink, and the track Perfect Darkness. In this dark and mysterious acoustic track, there's plenty of sonic information that wants my attention. It sounds so effortless, but as a mixing engineer, I can tell you that a lot of work has been done on this track. It's one of those songs that sound fantastic through both speakers and headphones. And of course, I would have loved to play the track for you here in the video, but if I do that, there will be a copyright mark and I will earn nothing from AdSense on this video. Somebody else will earn the money. And I guess I'm entitled to the money, it's my video. But anyway, you can see the title and you can also find it in the description. So have a listen for yourself and tag along as I explain how this track affects me. The Bathys shows the percussive qualities of the mix in a fine way, and the vocals are engaging with a hint of upper mid-range edginess. The bass goes deep and everything sits together very well. The Dali doesn't have as much transients as they are nicely rounded off and the vocals sound smoother in a good way. The upper part of the low end moves the vocals and bass guitar forward in a nice way. The stereo panorama has a nice width that makes the whole soundstage very engaging. I always use the Px8 with the active noise cancelling on because it inflates the low end in such a nice way, bolstering it. Then I set the bass filter to minus 1.5 decibels. So I add low end with the ANC activated, and then I take it down a little bit with the bass filter. Compared with the two other headphones, the soundstage doesn't have as much depth or punch. Instead, the whole soundstage is more forward and in your face. As always, with the Px8, the louder they play, the better they sound. Without active noise cancelling, the soundstage opens up, but at the same time loses that nice bolster in the low end. I conclude that the IO-12 have the most balanced soundstage with a very nice presentation of the vocals. Px8 has the most inflated and colored sound, but in a quite nice way. Bathys have the most detailed sound with a very nice mid-range depth and stereo width, but with a slight hint of too much upper mid-range. So my next reference track is by an artist named Ayub with a track called Kothbiro. It's from the motion picture The Constant Gardener. This African sacral piece of music caught my ears when I watched the movie, and I just had to find a track. It's actually recorded in Peter Gabriel's Real World Studios, which is his residential studio in the midst of nowhere in the southwest of England. If you haven't checked it out, Google it and look at some of the pictures of the studio. It's a fantastic place for musicians and artists to record, and there are no windows or boundaries between the musicians and the recording engineers. The huge mixing console is located in the middle of the large recording room. Being a musical philanthrope, Peter Gabriel invites gifted musicians from all over the world and let them record in his studio. Then he takes them out on tour around the world. What a guy. Anyway, I'm just drawn to this kind of music as it is so unfiltered, both technically and musically. The IO-12 portrays the track in a wonderful way with depth, width and coherency between the low end, mid-range and treble. The soundstage is smooth and musical, just like it is through my expensive TAD speakers located behind the cameras here in this room, I really enjoyed this track through the IO-12s. The Bathys managed to open up the track a bit more, and the string definition is fantastic. Playing deeper down in the low end, I can pick up the musician stomping the floor with his foot and the vibrations being picked up by a microphone through the mic stand. This is something that fine hi-fi speakers tend to also show when playing this particular track. I'm very used to listening to this track through the Bathys, so I guess I'm a bit partial because I'm already emotionally attached to the soundstage through these headphones. Through the Px8, the stomping is even more pronounced due to the bolstered low end, and the soundstage is closer and more intimate, but at the same time with less definition and more coloration. I'm not quite getting that being there feeling that the two other headphones give me. Listening to this track, I would say that I prefer the IO-12s the most, because they are the most balanced sounding. Okay, so the next reference track is Usher and the song Climax. Reference tracks are interesting. I usually say that I don't pick them, they kind of pick me, because to me it's purely circumstantial what tracks that ends up on my reference music playlist. I remember someone playing this particular track in my control room, and with two subwoofers it sounded thunderous, and just stated that I'm going to be one of your reference tracks, or else. The dry and percussive drum machine sounds blends perfectly with the deep bass synth and Usher's vocals. In my control room, this track sounds massive, and a lot of that quality is maintained in the IO-12s, minus the sub-low end depth and punch. Hard to get with headphones. The drum machine blends very well with the vocals. Through the Bathys, the track gets a deeper kick and bass, and the drum machine gets a bit more percussive. But at the same time, both the drums and vocals comparatively sound a bit pokey. The soundstage is great, and so is the vibe, but it's not as smooth as through the IO-12. The mix and overall soundstage get a bit too complicated for the Px8 to really punch through. Actually, the vocals sound more distant, which surprises me, but I guess it's due to the fact that the headphones color the sound too much. The transient response is not as coherent as through the other two headphones, and the tight 808 kick drum doesn't have that nice thud. I can certainly enjoy this track through all three contenders, but again, I prefer the coherent and smooth sound of the IO-12. Finally, a rock track for all you rockers out there. As I can remember the 80s, I'm going for one of my all-time favorite rock tracks, AC/DC Back in Black. When I heard this track for the first time on vinyl at my best friend's house, I was blown away. And being a synth guy, my musical foundation was shaken at its core. Is it really okay to love both rock and synth music? Well, back in the day, that wasn't always the case. For this track, the bass mode comes very well in handy and pretty much perfectly adds that heft needed for this monumental rock track. Of course, streaming it from Cubus doesn't do the music justice. This should be played from vinyl and with that loudness button punched in on the receiver. to get that. A quick comparison between the three headphones showed that the Bathys sound the most detailed, and I can certainly feel the sound of the Marshall stacks roaring, the thud of the kick drum and the weight of the heavy snare drum. The Px8 plays a pretty good kick drum thud, but not as tight as through the Bathys. The snare drum sounds a bit washed out, but the guitars are tight and close up without piercing my eardrums. As always, the louder I play, the better it sounds through the Px8. As the distortion builds up, it's still okay because it sounds musical. The IO-12 sits in between with their soundstage being smooth but still detailed. A part of me loves the sound of the bass mode, and another part of me loves the more open soundstage of the hi-fi mode. It's a good thing that it's possible to choose between the two at the push of a button. Engaging the hi-fi mode opens the soundstage quite a bit. I couldn't help myself, so I had to listen to For Those About to Rock from the album After Back in Black. And lo and behold, I got a full body goosebumps listening through the IO-12s. Wow, I loved it. The soundstage is thick and lippy in a wonderful way. I just love it. I guess it reminds me of the times I've seen them live and experiencing the might of the guitars and the cannons. Sweet memories. So, comparing the sound, again, I'm leaning towards the IO-12 because they sound the most balanced, even though they don't have the most depth or punch. Wrapping up this part of the review, I'm going to do it in a very simple way, because I love simplicity. Focal Bathys, technical excellence. Bowers & Wilkins Px8, fun. Dali IO-12, technical excellence and fun. Back to me. Okay, back to the script. What about the active noise cancelling functionality? Well, I've been using these headphones for travel, and I think that they have pretty much the right amount of noise cancelling. There is only one mode available, but to my ears, it has very little effect on the sound quality. Sure, with my sound engineer cap on, enabling the active noise cancelling, the vocal sound in the phantom center becomes a little bit narrower, and the transient response becomes slightly recessed. That said, I will go as far as saying that the Dali IO-12 has the most transparent sounding noise cancelling that I've encountered. And in all fairness, when you're in an environment with disturbing background noise, it will be impossible to hear that minute difference in sound quality enabling the ANC. Instead, you will be able to enjoy listening to music, while there are all sorts of background noises around you. I like the way that the active noise cancelling lowers the impact of the low-end rumble very efficiently, making it possible to enjoy music at lower listening levels, even in environments with heavy background noise. So what about using the noise cancelling outdoors? Well, it works fine, but in heavy wind, like most wireless headphones, these headphones will struggle as well. And if you find that the noise cancelling doesn't perform as well as it should, you can always disable it and just use the passive isolation of these headphones, because it's quite good. All in all, really good engineering work done by the engineers at Dali. Good work, guys and girls. So, wrapping up this long review of these headphones, Dali have improved the design compared to previous headphone models. They have certainly upped their game in terms of sound quality. One of the few complaints that I have is that the IO-12s doesn't support the Sony LDAC codec. It would have bridged the difference in sound quality listening via Bluetooth or USB connection. Also, most competitors offers an app for tailoring the soundstage and customizing the settings. Some headphones have more EQ possibilities built into them, so it would have been great to have an iPhone or Android app controlling the IO-12 headphones. On the other hand, have I missed not having access to such an app? No, I haven't. I've just been listening to music through a pair of great sounding headphones. So, are these headphones for you? Well, there are a couple of things to consider. Obviously the price, as they have a retail price of about $1,300 or 1,000 euros, which puts them in the upper league of audiophile wireless headphones. They really are the most comfortable headphones I've ever worn, but only you can decide if they are comfy to you. I have tremendously enjoyed using these headphones for personal use, just listening to music, and for professional use, bringing them along to events and late-night hotel room sound editing. If you are looking for a pair of great-sounding headphones, you should definitely check these out. And if you found this review useful, feel free to buy me a coffee using the link below or hit that super thanks button. Donations will go straight to this YouTube channel. Many thanks for your contribution. Signing off, I'm Frederick from Immersive Sound Tech, your Sunday in the sofa place.